Mysteries behind Trump shooting investigation. Part 1. Mystery around Donald Trump shooting. 3 things we don't know. After the FBI identified Donald Trump's shooter as Thomas Matthew Crooks, a lot of information and disinformation have surfaced. But there are more questions unanswered even 36 hours after the assassination attempt on Trump. Crooks acted alone and used his father's AR-15 style rifle to shoot at Trump at the Pennsylvania rally. The bullets grazed Trump's ear while Crooks was shot dead. What was Crooks' motive? The motive of the shooter is not yet known. The family history and upbringing of the 20-year-old did not indicate anything which could be linked to the assassination bid. On the contrary, Crooks was registered as a Republican, but he also donated $15 to a Democratic project. How did the Secret Service security breach take place? Crooks shot at Trump from about 150 yards away from a rooftop. Reports claimed those who attended the rally raised alarm about suspicious movements on the rooftop, but it's not clear why the Secret Service did not secure the area. Was Donald Trump the only target? The firearm reportedly belonged to Crooks's father, and he was a lone wolf attacker, but it is not yet known what else the shooter had planned. Authorities reported finding explosives, including an IED or improvised explosive device, inside a car driven by Crooks that was located near the Trump rally. Additionally, materials for making bombs were found inside Crooks' home, AP reported. What's next? Donald Trump rewrites RNC speech for Thursday. Surviving the shot, Donald Trump emerged as defiant with prominent figures openly declaring their support to the Republican candidate. Presumptive. Trump has reportedly rewritten his speech for the RNC convention, where he would officially be declared as the Republican candidate. Axios reported that Trump will be delivering a different speech than what he had earlier prepared, a one-of-a-kind speech targeting Biden. Part 2. Mystery around Trump shooter deepens. The FBI analyzed Thomas Matthew Crooks' phone and found nothing to explain why he tried to assassinate the former president. 2 days after Thomas Matthew Crooks committed one of the most shocking acts of political violence in half a century, both investigators and people in his western Pennsylvania community are no closer to understanding why he did it. The FBI has analyzed Crooks' cell phone and has found nothing that explains why he climbed onto a roof and shot at former President Trump, grazing his ear, law enforcement officials said. Crooks' parents have spoken to law enforcement, but they also seem to have little insight, telling authorities he didn't appear to have any strong political leanings and had few, if any, friends. Part 3. Multiple failures, multiple investigations, unraveling the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. The young man was pacing around the edges of the Donald Trump campaign rally, shouldering a big backpack and peering into the lens of a rangefinder toward the rooftops behind the stage where the former president would stand within the hour. His behavior was so odd, so unlike that of the other rally-goers, that local law enforcement took notice, radioed their concerns, and snapped a photo. But then, he vanished. The image was circulated by officers stationed outside the security perimeter on that hot, sunny Saturday afternoon. But the man didn't appear again until witnesses saw him climbing up the side of a squat manufacturing building that was within 135 meters from the stage. That's where he opened fire, 6 minutes after Trump began speaking, in an attempt to assassinate the presumptive GOP presidential nominee. The gunman killed one rally-goer and seriously wounded 2 others. Trump suffered an ear injury but was not seriously hurt, appearing just days later at the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee with a bandage over the wound. Now come the questions, and there are plenty. Multiple investigations have been launched, both into the crime itself and how law enforcement allowed it to happen. It's becoming increasingly clear This was a complicated failure involving multiple missteps and at least 9 local and federal law enforcement divisions that were supposed to be working together. Law enforcement has also warned of the potential for copycat attacks and more violence. This story is based on interviews with 8 law enforcement officials and 4 people familiar with a law enforcement briefing given to senators Wednesday, some of whom spoke to the Associated Press on condition of anonymity to discuss the investigations into the attempt on Trump's life. Multiple agencies work together to secure events. The Secret Service always partners with local law enforcement when a president, political candidate, or other high-level official comes to town, and Saturday's rally was no different. An advance team comes early to scope out the scene and identify potential areas of concern. They order vehicles moved, they set up barriers, they block off roads. In some larger cities, 1 or 2 local agencies may work alongside the federal teams. In more rural areas, one local agency won't have enough manpower, so multiple agencies are often involved. On Saturday, the show of force included members of at least 6 different agencies, including 2 sheriff's offices, local police, state police, and multiple teams within the Secret Service, plus fire and emergency rescue officials. Within those agencies are individual divisions that have different duties. The Secret Service controls the area inside the perimeter after people pass through metal detectors. Local law enforcement is supposed to handle outside the perimeter. Reports of someone on the roof. The shooter, later identified as Crooks, disappeared from the crowds of Trump supporters decked out in red, white and blue. The stream of supporters entering through the metal detectors was slowing. Trump was getting ready to go on. Crooks was spotted again when members of a local SWAT team stationed inside the building complex noticed him walking around and looking at the roof. One officer took a photo of Crooks and radioed to others to be on the lookout for a suspicious person looking through a rangefinder, a small device resembling binoculars that hunters use to measure distance from a target. Not long after, witnesses reported seeing him scaling the squat building closest to the stage. He then set up his AR-style rifle and lay on the rooftop, a detonator in his pocket, to set off crude explosive devices that were stashed in his car parked nearby. Outside, a local officer climbed up to the roof to investigate. The gunman turned and pointed his rifle at him. The officer did not, or could not, fire a single shot, but Crooks did, firing into the crowd toward the former president and sending panicked spectators ducking for cover as Secret Service agents shielded Trump and pulled him from the stage. 2 counter-sniper teams were stationed on buildings behind Trump, and the team further away from Crooks fired once, killing him. In the congressional briefing Wednesday, FBI and Secret Service officials laid out a clearer timeline. Crooks was identified as a potential threat a full hour before the shots were fired. They saw him with the rangefinder roughly 40 minutes before the shooting, and then spotted him again looking through the rangefinder about 20 minutes before the shooting. Part 4. Many investigations, few answers. We are speaking of a failure, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas told CNN. We are going to analyze through an independent review how that occurred, why it occurred, and make recommendations and findings to make sure it doesn't happen again. House Oversight Committee Republicans have subpoenaed Secret Service Director Kim Cheatle. House Speaker Mike Johnson said he would set up a task force to investigate, and some Republicans have called on Cheatle to resign. Cheatle herself said the shooting was unacceptable in an interview with ABC News, and it's something that shouldn't happen again. Security has been stepped up for Trump and President Joe Biden, and independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. also received a protective detail. Biden has ordered an independent review of the shooting. The Department of Homeland Security's Inspector General also opened an investigation into the Secret Service's handling of the shooting. But it's a big task. There were special agents, presidential protective teams, counter-assault and counter-sniper teams, all there that day. There were also roughly 50 firefighters and emergency personnel, plus dozens of officers from the Butler Township Police, deputies from Beaver County and Butler County, and Pennsylvania State Police troopers. It will take weeks, if not months, to interview all the officers involved and determine exactly how Crooks was able to pull off the most serious attempt to kill a president or presidential candidate since Ronald Reagan was shot in 1981.